All right, welcome back. We're starting on a political note, and as you've seen there, Chief Dele Momodu joins us next in the studios here. He is the Director, Strategic Communications of the PDP's Presidential Campaign Council. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today, sir.
Good morning, and it's nice to be here again.
Yes, indeed, and quite a lot of things going on in the polity this time, some of which, of course, opposition has accused your party, saying, look, several of those fifth elements are working in favor of your candidate, and to some extent, some even think all of these scenarios happening, are they, in the manner of speaking, playing to the advantage of the PDP? If people are not happy with the system, who knows? But in this country, I mean, in politics, they even say generally, 24 hours is a long time. Things could change just like that. But how do you see these things as they play out?
Well, nothing is going to change. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is going to win the election. Nothing is going to change. And I will give you copious reasons why I say so. I'm not saying so because I'm being overtly optimistic. I'm saying it based on personal experience. I've been in politics now for over 40 years. I've watched Nigeria go up, go down, stabilize, and disappear again, but there is a pattern to it. One, when a government, anywhere in the world, this is not peculiar to Nigeria, a government has not performed to expectation, that government is usually punished during elections. Two, when a government has not performed well, it's a referendum. And after 8 years, people get generally fed up. And that is why you see that in most countries, after 4 to 8 years, things just change and people get so angry. You could see it happened to PDP in the past. When in 2015, people felt, oh, things cannot get worse than this and all that. And then we experimented with the Buhari government. So, APC, they played their part. Congratulations to them. But things are falling apart. They are not falling apart. They are falling completely apart. So Nigerians are tired. Wherever you go today, everyone is talking about it. Then when you look at the mainstream candidates, I like to say that, usually, again, in many countries, you have two mainstream political parties and candidates. In the case of Nigeria, now we seem to have a third force. The fourth force is not doing much. So, and who are the leading candidates? Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Lagos, and Peter Obi, former governor of Anambra State.
So you acknowledge that he's now a contender in this election?
We are very, very practical human beings. I'm a Democrat. I'm not going to disparage anybody. It's a third force. But how forceful is that force is the question.
But you're underestimating what you describe as a fourth candidate.
No, I'm not. It's obvious. I mean, even to have a third force is difficult. If Peter Obi is struggling, then the number 4 would have to struggle more. So, if you give me the chance, I will analyze it.
By what criteria have you said that, that Peter Obi is struggling?
He is definitely struggling. You see, a presidential race is a marathon. It's a long-distance race. It takes time to build up. Even Chief M.K. Abiola, a lot of people who don't know the history of Nigeria thought he just came in 1993 with all his stupendous wealth and he won the election. No. In 1981, he was in MPN. He had loads of money, just like Tinubu today, but he was a businessman. He was not a career politician. He wanted to be president, and he was told the presidency is not for sale. Most people, most money bags who come into politics always feel it's all about money. But they told MKO, it's not about your money. And he went away quietly to rebuild and came back in 1993, 12 years after. And that was when he was able to do it. So those who are running today, okay, they are new on the stage. Presidential stage is a massive stage. Tinubu had always played at the regional level. In Lagos, at the very best. Even in the whole of the Southwest, he had always been challenged. He didn't have the aura, the intellect, the personality of an Abiola or an Awolowo. So that is why I said it's going to be difficult for any of them to match Atiku Abubakar. Atiku Abubakar started the race in 1993. The first time I set my eyes on him was at the SDP convention in Jos, where he was persuaded to step down for Abiola. And that's when I started noticing the Democrat in him. He stepped down quietly. He went back home. He didn't throw tantrums like we see some people today who see politics as a matter of life and death. He's a child of destiny. He went away. And by 1999, he came back. He had already won the election to be governor of his state. But as fate will have it, he came back, he was selected by General Olusegun Obasanjo, and he became the vice president. So it tells you something about the man. And if you study his trajectory since then, you will see that he's a true Democrat. Today, he's the only one who has built that network of bridges. As I told you, even in smaller countries like Ghana, President John Ajekum Kufuor contested 3 times before he became president. President Jonathan Mills contested 3 times before he became president. The current president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, contested 3 times. In Liberia.
So, I mean, I understand all of the instances that you're trying to bring up. Everybody will say that every country is peculiar with its own politics in terms of how this has happened. I mean, you made reference to 2015 when the PDP was ousted from power. At the time, the current candidate of your party right now was a part of the APC, which forced him out, which forced the PDP out of power. So some people might argue that, you know, there have been an alignment and realignment since the PDP was last in power, because you said that one of the things that will happen, and one of the things that normally would happen, is that political parties are punished during elections when they do not do well. And you made reference to that. You gave an example of how the PDP performed and what saw it out of power. Some people will say that part of what saw the PDP out of power wasn't really because it underperformed or under-delivered to the Nigerian people. It was the forces that came together at the time, the conglomeration of forces, the fact that the political parties were able to come together and even get people from within the PDP itself. You forget the NPDP, as they were called at the time, who joined forces with the APC to wrest power from the PDP. Do we see that sort of alignment and realignment? Because it's very difficult, as you might imagine, for the party at the center, for the ruling party, as it were, to lose power in a country like Nigeria.
No. Examples abound everywhere. In the US, in Ghana, in Nigeria, governments have lost power. It happened to my good friend, President John Mahama, in 2016 in Ghana. He remains one of the best presidents in the country. There are times people get fed up. So imagine if a performing government could lose, what then will happen to a government that people believe is not performing? So that is the situation in Nigeria today. Even the wife of the president, our first lady, and I like her, she's very outspoken, she apologized on behalf of their government. Even their candidate, Tinubu today, is angry at the party and said they didn't perform, they can't think, they don't have brains to think, and he's the philosopher king who thinks for Buhari. It tells you something. So that's why I laugh when people say, oh, we have crisis in PDP. I say, no.
You're not looking at the elements. I mean, you don't seem to agree with the elements and points now. The fact that there had to be, will I say, an agglomeration of forces to wrest power from the hands of the PDP.
It is different. That happened because you don't forget that Buhari had contested 3 times and he had almost given up. All the smaller parties had to come together. PDP is different. PDP has been in operation since 1999. APC had to come from the different regions. Buhari was playing as a regional force. Tinubu was playing as a regional force. Atiku is not a regional force. Atiku is the only one who cuts across every part of Nigeria. There is nowhere Atiku will step in today and he will not be welcome. So the comparisons are different. Atiku has built bridges spanning 30 serious, consistent, tenacious years. Is definitely different from somebody like Fela would say, Johnny just come. Who is just coming?
Who are the people that are just coming?
Oh, Tinubu is coming from Lagos to play at the center.
Even though he's a career politician.
Yes, but a career politician in Lagos, controlling Lagos absolutely in the last 24 years.
Some people would, you know, really take up, I don't know, wouldn't mind just disagree with that analysis.
Oh, they are free.
In the sense that, I mean, a party like the APC, you heard his speech in Ogun State, in Abeokuta, pre the primaries of his own party, and you heard when he said that, you know, they came together, he was the one who helped the president. You heard that particular speech. So it would seem that there had been work going on underground before now.
You see, you can fall for the propaganda. I was a part of the team that brought Buhari into power. I was handling a lot of media. Till today, I'm probably the only outsider who is not in government, who still receives information directly from the presidency, and I support them because this is my country. The president of a country is the father of the nation. If he fails, we all fail. If he succeeds, we all succeed. In 2015, look, we should not rewrite history. One of the people who brought Buhari to power was Chibuke Rotimi Amechi. Let's forget this propaganda of turning one man into God, that is only one man that brought Buhari. Buhari can accept it because, you know, he's generally taciturn. He doesn't talk much. He picks his words. And as president, he cannot be trading words with members of his party. It is untrue. Atiku Abubakar helped Buhari. Rotimi Amechi helped Buhari. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso helped Buhari. So if they all have the same entitlement syndrome, today they will be claiming that, so if Rabiu Kwankwaso should be telling the president, I delivered X number of votes to you in Kano. Rotimi Amechi will say, I delivered X number of votes to you in the South, including stupendous wealth. People spend money. So to now bring all this together and say only one man did it is very unfortunate, but it's Buhari that,
But
you know.
Listening to, you know, your analogy about how people often get fed up, there comes a time in history where things need to change. But then we also do remember, and it's widely documented, how when the president contested about the 3rd time or thereabout, at some point he was frustrated about the whole thing. He initially also did say he won't go again in this one. And then much later, after he won, he was also surprised that the former president, Jonathan, actually called him. So why do you think that all of this scenario took him by surprise? If these were natural development, he should have expected it, saying, well, yeah, people get frustrated and they change. How come?
When you are in what I call the gilded cage that the presidency is, you are in prison, you don't see or feel a lot of things happening to you. People tell you lies. It's the same thing some people are telling APC now, that they are invincible. I mean, I would like to give an example of the governor of Kaduna State. This is a man I had worked very keenly because I consider myself a scholar, and I see him more as a scholar, as an intellectual than a politician. In fact, when I contested in 2011, He was one of those I considered to be my running mate. That's how much I admire him. So when you now see those people packaging a fluke for Nigeria, it worries me. Blackmailing everybody that because Tinubu helped you in the past, when did they sit down and say the compensation for helping a man to power is that you too must become president? Then Amechi has the same right, if not more. Amechi twice has been the Director General of the Buhari campaign. Twice. Spent money, sleepless nights, traveling all over Nigeria. You have an Osinbajo who is very calm, one of those who built the Tinubu image that we have today. You can see the man staying back and watching quietly.
Are you reading the situation right? Because, I mean, you pointed out the speech of the, I think you're referring to the speech of the governor's decision that they took, and also the speech he made, Governor Nasir El-Rufai made in Kaduna, when he says that the North will not go back on its own words. Is that what you're referring to?
No, it's not about the North not going back on its own words. It's about someone who is being opportunistic, playing a clever game. You know Tinubu is not going to win. The race for 2027 has started. If you are not a politician, you don't know. These guys, they play in advance.
I just want to get...
So that's why I'm telling you that it's not about power returning to the South. It is about the ambition of certain individuals in APC who know that Tinubu will not win, and they are positioning themselves for 2027. Let me finish, please. Yes. Please, my sister.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
They know that in 2037, you cannot win. No Northerner can win without the South, and no Southerner can win without the North. So their strategy, right now, suddenly, El-Rufai has become the superhero of the South, the one who is speaking that power must go back to the South. It is all lies. The truth is, they are playing the game. They know the man is going nowhere. There are too many reasons why Tinubu will not be president. When your vices outweigh your virtues, no country will accept it.
Chief Dele Momodu, I'm just trying to see, because it would seem that is the reading that the PDP is given to the speech that the APC governors have made. Because some people say that the sentiments that have been espoused are quite strong in a country that is deeply divided, in a country that believes in rotation of power between North and South. Your party seems to be going against the grain, fielding a Northern candidate, you know, after an 8-year presidency of the North.
And
it will seem that this is how you've chosen to read it because of, you know, the candidate that you have presented to the Nigerian people.
I will not fall for that bait. There is nothing in the Constitution of Nigeria that says 1 or 2 terms in the North, 1 or 2 terms in the South. None. PDP, in its wisdom,
has
in its collective wisdom.
Yeah.
But some people within PDP, and if we have time, we will also go into the details of that, decided, I participated in that process, and they decided they were going to throw it open because of the ambition of a few people, including Southerners, who are complaining today that power did not come to the South. So what happened was that PDP is far, far ahead when it comes to the sensitivity and the balancing of politics in Nigeria and the politicians. Between 1999 and 2007, President Obasanjo, a Southerner, a Christian, was president. Then President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua came on board, spent 3 years, God rest his soul, then he departed. Then his vice president, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, took over and spent a total of 5 years. That is 5 plus Obasanjo's 8, that's 13 years. He was still given a ticket, as controversial as it was. If he had won in 2015, he would have spent a total of 9 years in power. Add that to Obasanjo's 8 years. that would have given you 15 years out of 24 years since our return to democracy. So today, PDP has served, Southerners in PDP have served for 13 out of 24 years. 13. Nobody talks about it. But every day they say, oh, it's the turn of the South. And let's go beyond that. Okay, if it's the turn of the South, is it the exclusive preserve of one man? Are there no better candidates that we can throw up? Nigerians cannot continue to express this kind of emotion and sentiment of a Milokan, it's my turn. No, it's nobody's property.
I mean, in your analogy, people always see that the governors in the APC, all of them, always tell people, people have the impression that several governors in the APC who are way much more than their counterparts in the PDP will work and deliver the APC. So now you categorically telling us that they may say one thing in the open, but behind the scenes, it will turn out differently.
No, I'm too logical to look at it in such a simplistic manner. Number one, most second-term governors always become lame dogs. They do not have the kind of power they had in their first term. That's why it's happening to Buhari. That's why Tinubu can come openly and attack Buhari. He would not have tried it before 2019. But he knows Buhari is on his way out. So now everybody is punching him and the man cannot respond. It's because he has become a lame dog. They know that after February 25, a new president will emerge, and that will be Atiku Abubakar. So now they can punch him well. They can blackmail him and bully him into submission. Now he jumps on his plane to go and campaign. Whether he likes it or not, he knows the truth. So no matter what you say about Buhari, he knows the truth. No matter what you say about the failure of APC, Buhari still has his personal integrity.
All of those persons in his party
who are attacking him,
will not work to deliver the ruling party.
No, I'm telling you, they don't even have the power. How has El-Rufai managed Kaduna? What's happening in Kaduna? Total chaos. Total chaos. I went to Kaduna to see Sheikh Gumi before our primary. I could not believe it. Kaduna became a ghost town.
In what regard?
Oh, in every regard. The streets were empty. That used to be the most bubbly of states in the Northwest.
Even though they'll tell you, look, concerning the figures, economic figures, the revenue they generated, so how do you look at that? But it's a different matter entirely. Let's bring in our colleagues in Lagos. Go ahead, guys.
Berlin, good morning, Chief Momodu. It's interesting that, you argue this way, because I recall that I interviewed you during the PDP primaries, and you argued vigorously at that time that it was indeed the turn of the South. And you told me that because you are from the South, that, the scheme of things favored you, and that, the PDP should look the way of Southern candidates. So what has happened between now and then? Have you all of a sudden forgotten, or as my colleagues say, politicians campaign one way, but they mean something else? And tie that to with the, call, the demand on your vice presidential candidates to remember the agreement that they made, which he turned his back on, betraying Southern governors, even though they had agreed that, no Southern governor should agree to be a vice presidential candidate.
Well, let me start from the rear. If you say no Southern governor should agree to be vice president to the North, so how come Governor Nyesom Wike was prepared to be vice president after he lost the primary? The anger and all the tantrums came only after it failed to clinch that. So I will answer from the rear. So let me now go to your first question. I never told you that it must, as a matter of life and death, become a Southern affair. The powers that be within PDP were the ones who changed the mood of the moment. My mood was that, yes, a lot of people in the PDP wanted power in the South. And as far back as March 30th, ever before Wike joined the race, I'd written to him because I was suspecting he was interested in the race. I saw him as our best governor. He's performed wonderfully. I call him the poster boy of PDP. Extremely gifted when it comes to executing projects. But these were the same people who maneuvered and meandered their way to ensuring that it was thrown open. The chairman, who was from the south, was cleverly removed, Prince Uche Secondus, and then people started doing their thing. Once the party decided to throw it open, you cannot blame me for that. I'm a loyal party man, but there is nowhere where it was signed that a Southerner cannot be vice president. The party is always supreme. The party decided, and I know, I must add this, that even when the issue of this zoning came in, our principal, Atiku Abubakar, had said the only way that this thing would work is that if we want to be fair, let it go to the southeast. But some people who were not from the southeast who wanted to contest by fire by force refused, and they had their way. So you can't blame anybody for it. It's a party thing. I'm in PDP. They had asked me, if you don't make it, are you going to quit? I said no. I stood by my... This is the first time I'm in a mainstream political party, by the way. I've always been in opposition. I'm still in opposition. I support people, oftentimes based on my personal beliefs. When I supported Buhari in 2015, I was not in APC. When I supported Atiku and Peter Obi in 2019, when I supported Buhari, I was not in APC. When I supported Atiku and Peter Obi, I was not in PDP. So for me, now I'm in PDP. My duty is to support our candidates, Atiku Abubakar and Dr. Ifeanyi Chukwu Arthur Okowa. There is nothing that is no longer personal to me. I've moved on. Many of us lost the election and we're supporting our candidate. And I will call on others who are aggrieved. Everybody has a right to be aggrieved. But to now narrow it down to as if some people forced the Northerner on PDP, no, that didn't happen. PDP had always been fair to the South. That's why I told you that out of 24 years, Southern presidents had been in government for 13 out of 24. So the accusation that the North wants to monopolize power, it does not hold water in PDP.
Okay. Well, let me appeal, Chief Momodu, to the journalist in you and ask this question around issues that should make this election prominent. There's the belief out there generally that a lot of times when politicians are talking, it's always more about politicking as opposed to the issues that Nigerians should focus on. So let me appeal to the journalist in you and ask you why it seems that generally mostly politicians are more about the sentiments of the elections, and consequently the young people and most Nigerians generally follow in that trajectory as opposed to focusing on the issues that are disturbing people and should form the kernel of the elections.
Yes, because as they say, seek ye first the kingdom of power, and then everything else will be added onto it. You cannot have issues if you don't have power. You can be the most brilliant man in the world, but if you don't win elections, you are not able to exhibit your talents. I know what I can do for my country. I know the things I've done for my country, but you will realize that elections generally are emotional affairs. They are sentimental affairs, and that is why more often than not, not just in Nigeria, everywhere in the world, people fall for scams. Once you can present yourself as a saint, I have one shoe, I have one shirt, I don't wear wristwatches, I have one car, you know, and you apotheosize yourself to that level of a demigod, you are likely to succeed, especially with the young ones. But those are mistakes we've made in the past. And when I see those signs, I see a red flag and I run away from it. Nations are not governed by saints. Nations are governed by performance. So in this race, I've looked at the main contenders, and I've seen a man that I believe at this time, when Nigeria is in a very precarious state, I've seen a man who can help balance that country well, who can recover us from the brink of collapse. And that man is Atiku Abubakar. So it's not about, we're not talking issues. The issues are out there. He's the only one talking about restructuring. He's the only one pointing to what he was able to do when he was vice president and was the chairman of the Economic Council. Though some people may try to downplay that, but everybody knows that the most influential vice president in the history of Nigeria is Atiku Abubakar. That's why he remains relevant till today. And you can see his temperament, his comportment, he is detribalized, he is cosmopolitan. You see a lot of young people around him. If you look at our campaign, you will see most of us, we are Christians. He doesn't think about those primordial sentiments that politicians like to exhibit. He will never attempt a Muslim ticket in a plural society that Nigeria is. And those are the issues for now. The issue is that you must win the election first before you can now work on your projects. His projects are very clear. He has his 5-point agenda, and that is what we're selling. You will never hear Atiku abuse Buhari, despite the fact that he's in opposition. He will not attack any governor, despite the fact that he's in opposition. He will never respond directly to El-Rufai's provocation, despite being the one who helped him in the past to get some things in government. He's just a man Nigeria needs right now. That maturity, that experience is required. We cannot afford to bring people who cannot even manage their anger. When a man can go on television and insult a president, I mean, I don't know what else you want to see. Yeah. It's all about discipline. Discipline.
Well, Chief, you know, yesterday, the Minister of Works and Housing did say, look, a SWOT analysis has been carried out by their party, and that Labour Party, NNPP, PDP combined cannot defeat the APC. And he says all three of them were together in 2019. And if you combine all their votes, how much? And how many of them? In just a few millions. And he says, now it won't be any different. So when you say that, yes, you've seen nationally what will likely happen. So how do we then juxtapose it with this perspective?
I am happy I watched that interview. Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola happens to be my very good friend, my good brother, someone I respect so much. And he is one of the brilliant guys we have around in politics. Maybe if they had picked Fashola as presidential candidate, maybe a lot of people would not even complain about the Muslim ticket. But what he was saying last night, trust me, is just to defend his boss. I didn't expect anything less. Anybody who knows the mathematics of elections in Nigeria will know that what he was saying was absolutely false. And I will tell you, in 2014, I wrote between President Jonathan and Muhammadu Buhari in search of mathematicians. You can Google it. That was the first time the Buharis had hope that they can win. I know the spread in Nigeria. Number one, historically, 1979, 1983, whenever you have two strong southern candidates, they cannot beat the mainstream northern candidate. It's impossible. Awolowo, though I don't see them on the same level, but what is happening today is like a repeat of history. Awolowo was there in the southwest, just like Tinubu is there in the south, and Tinubu does not even have a quarter of Awolowo's cult followership at that time. Then, in the southeast, we had the Wile of Onitsha, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. And then in the north, we had Shehu Shagari, Alhaji Shehu Shagari from Sokoto. We had Malam Aminu Kano in Kano, just like you have Rabiu Kwankwaso today. The north, on February 25th, you watch. The same way Tinubu has now gone back into his base. The base he neglected for so long because he felt the people he needed, he took them for granted. The people he needed were the northerners. Right. Now he has run back to his base. Don't run away, sir. He has run back to his base to go and appeal to ethnic sentiment. And you expect that the northerners we also not follow the same ethnic, and then you must think some people are fools.
In conclusion, Chief, but we also do know that same 1959, I thought that
No, 79.
79, the NCNC Action Group.
No. That was in the First Republic. I'm talking about 1979.
Okay, but
that's Shagari.
But we have a history.
Yes.
Of NCNC Action Group defeating the MPN, the Northern Party at that time, 2,000 parties defeating. So that was a scenario in our history.
The scenario is that Shagari defeated Awolowo and Azikiwe in 1979. In 1983, Shagari defeated Awolowo and Azikiwe. The same thing is going to happen. Atiku will defeat Peter Obi and Bola Tinubu.
All right, Chief Dele Momodu, the Director of Strategic Communications of the PDP's Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you for coming on, and all the best.
Thank you. All right. I look forward to seeing you again.
All right, we will be back in just a moment. Stay with us.